Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2013 NFL Draft Prospect Rankings video. We're taking a look at the quarterbacks this time, so let's take a look at some top players, some small school prospects, and some sleepers that you want to keep an eye on.
Geno Smith is my top-rated quarterback in this draft. I've graded him out as a top 10 type of talent. Reminds me a lot of Warren Moon in his skill set and size. Now, he has excellent football IQ, great accuracy, and arm strength. He tends to hold the football a little bit too long and is a little bit slower in moving through his progressions. Now, we don't know if that's a product of his skill set or a product of the offense he ran at West Virginia. Either way, it's going to have to improve at the next level. But quite honestly, if you're a team drafting in the top 5, you can't go wrong with this guy as your quarterback. If you need a quarterback, I think he's going to be a special player at the next level. There's a lot to like about Tyler Wilson of Arkansas, 6'2", 220, tremendous arm strength, and a guy that's a fearless quarterback. Give me a quarterback that's not scared, and I could win with that guy. He does take questionable risks with the football, similar to Brett Favre, the good and the bad. What you like about him is that he's tough. He's going to stand in there in the face of the blitz and fire the football in there. The things you don't like is the fact that he does force some throws, but at the end of the day, you look at a guy that has the size, has the arm, can make all the throws, and I think if you also need a quarterback in the later part of the first round, Tyler Wilson is your guy. I've given Tyler Bray a second-round grade. He's my third-rated quarterback in this draft. Slender build, more of a thrower than a passer, but you have to love the arm strength. You have to love the quick release, and you also like the fact that he can throw from different angles. So under pressure, he can still get the football out. The thing you have to understand about Bray is that he's going to probably be a better pro player than he was in college, because Tennessee didn't really have a running game, so he didn't have that benefit of operating off play action, but you have to like his skill set. He's going to have to develop some touch. Every pass can't be a fastball. You got to be able to throw touch throws, and you can't trust your arm too much in tight situations. See right there, the touchdown. That's a great throw. A lot of times that may be a bad pass. So if he can hone his skill set at the next level, he's going to be a stud. Next up is Mike Glennon. Second-round talent, in my opinion, does compare to Joe Flacco, but honestly, you can also say he compares to Matt Schaub. Just a solid, all-around good player. A lot of things you like about him. He has the experience. The things he has to work on, he struggles versus the blitz in identifying certain blitz packages like the zone blitz. If he can pick that up, if that's something that can be coached out of you, that's a good thing that he has a bright future. Otherwise, you see a guy that can win you football games, that can be a solid pro, and that's the only real question you have to ask yourself as a coach. Can I win with this guy? And I think you can win with Mike Glennon. He's going to have to get coached up, but definitely a guy that can be a starter at the next level. When you look at Ryan Nassib out of Syracuse, you look at a guy that has gotten better each and every year, and you want to see that progression if you're a talent evaluator. Has this guy gotten better, or has he flatlined? He's definitely gotten better. He has to work on his touch. When you talk about Tyler Bray being that quarterback that makes everything a fastball, Ryan Nassib is the same type of guy. If he can work on his touch, then he's going to add another element to his game. I think that's going to help him out with his deep ball accuracy. That's one thing he does struggle with. He has the pocket mobility. That's what you want out of a quarterback in this day and age in the NFL. You can put him on boots, waggles, he can be effective. If you're a team that has a starter in place but looking for a second-round, third-round developmental guy, Nassib is your man. Zach Dyser out of Miami of Ohio caught my attention in the first game of the season at Ohio State. Looked to be the only guy on that Red Hawks offense that came ready to play. Showed tremendous toughness, showed some mobility, was a risk taker, a calculated risk taker, and very underrated, accurate passer. So the things he has to work on, he tends to be a spot passer, which means he's going to throw to a spot where the receiver should be, not where the receiver is, which also makes him a see-it-throw type of guy. So he can be late with the ball, and that could result in batted passes, could result in sacks, could result in interceptions at the next level. But I do see a guy with some talent that could be a starter down the line. You see right there, a guy dropped the ball. That happened all year for Dyser. Look for him to be one of those surprise players in the preseason. Next up, we have Matt Barkley. I've graded him out as a third-round type of quarterback. When you look at what he does well, short to intermediate accuracy is awesome. Great pre-snap, and he shows solid anticipation. He's not overly athletic, which means he won't get out of the way when teams are blitzing him, which is why he struggles versus the blitz. He can't move out the way, and his deep ball accuracy is questionable at best. But this is a guy that played a lot of football at USC. Productive starter. Everything around him has to be in place in order for him to be effective, and that's why I compared him to Matt Flynn. Not a wild franchise type of guy, but definitely a guy that can be a productive NFL player. My 8th rated quarterback is E.J. Manuel, and I compared this guy to Jason Campbell. Tends to hold the football a little bit too long, has to work on his touch, too mechanical and a little bit hesitant. And a lot of that can be attributed to being overcoached at Florida State, because he has everything that you want. Strong arm, game time experience as a starter, and is very mobile. So you have to like the skill set of E.J. Manuel, and if a coach can break him down, build him back up, I think they may have a sleeper in this draft with this guy. So he's definitely going to be a pro that's going to go probably in the 3rd or 4th round, a guy that you could bring along, redevelop him. I think that's going to be great for E.J. Manuel, because he definitely has the tools to be successful. There's a lot to like about Colby Cameron out of Louisiana Tech. You look at a guy that's a great decision maker, doesn't make mistakes with the football, and that's what you want already off the bat as a quarterback. Tremendous accuracy, shows good anticipation, doesn't have the strongest arm, but he does tend to be a predetermined thrower, which could be a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because if you identify and you trust what you see and you throw the football, love it. But if you're a guy that's going to go to a slant regardless, even if the cornerback has inside position, hate it. So you can't be a predetermined thrower, but get Colby Cameron in the system, a guy like a Ryan Fitzpatrick type of player, and you can have some success with him as your quarterback. And rounding out my top 10 is Landry Jones. He excels in the short timing passing game. Very productive. Started a lot of games at Oklahoma. 4-year starter. Put up a lot of yards. He has to work on his deep ball accuracy, and his situational clutchness has to improve. That's 3rd downs. That's end of game situations. That's versus the blitz. That's protecting the football. Those type of situations Landry Jones tends to struggle in. And if he's going to progress at the next level to be a starter down the line, he's going to have to improve on that. But right now I see a guy that could be a solid backup and a spot starter for maybe 2 or 3 games if your starter goes down. But don't depend on him to come through in those clutch situations. Keep an eye on Sean Renfrey out of Duke. Got great coaching down there in Durham, North Carolina, with David Cutcliffe, an outstanding quarterback guru. This is a guy that had an injury in the bowl game, so he may go in the later rounds, but definitely one you want on your roster as a nice developmental prospect. Matt McGloin was a guy that was asked to do a lot this year, learning a new offense in that tough situation out there in Penn State, but definitely rose to the challenge, showed tremendous leadership, and actually made himself a draftable prospect. So look for the 6th or 7th round for a guy like McGloin to be on an NFL roster. I'm still a big fan of Jeff Toole out of Washington State. I like what he brings to the table. Rocket arm, can definitely make all the throws, has to work on his mechanics, and he has to stay healthy, something he wasn't able to do out there in Pullman, Washington. I think Seth Dagey out of Texas Tech is a draftable prospect. I like the way he plays the game. He plays it as it is. It is just a game. I like that about him. That means he goes out there and plays fearless, makes great throws, can make every throw, and don't be surprised if he ends up on a roster during the regular season. Matt Brown was definitely a productive player at Illinois State, had over 78 career touchdown passes, came up big in the playoffs for the Redbirds as well. What he has to work on in order to sustain success at the next level would be his accuracy. It tends to flutter at times, but there's no doubt in the talent that's there for Matt Brown. Big fan of Colton Chapple out of Harvard. Indirectly discovered him when I was scouting Jeff Matthews from Cornell. Big player for 2014. Keep an eye on him. He moved the football up and down the field, Chapple did against that Cornell Big Red defense. Over 600 yards rushing, 66% completion percentage, so he's a very accurate passer. But this guy tends to force the football a little bit too much, could get him into trouble, and it got him into trouble in big games, but definitely has pro potential. Keep an eye on Ross Dausin out of CSU-PUEBLO. This guy has the size that you want at the position. 6'4", 230 pounds. Played in a pro-style offense out there. Did a great job all season long. 25 touchdowns on the season. Look for this guy to be one of those players that goes into camp, has an outstanding preseason, and ends up making a roster. When you look at Casey Brockman out of Murray State, you see a lot of Jim Kelly-like skill set. You see a guy that's very tough, doesn't mind running over a linebacker, but also can throw with touch and accuracy. He has to avoid being too rhythmic in his passing. If things don't go well, he bails out the pocket a little bit too soon, but this is a guy that's going to be a tough player at the next level. The reason why UW Oshkosh, a Division III program, had its best season in years was due to the play of Nate Ware, the outstanding quarterback. You look at a guy that's a dual threat type of quarterback. Over 700 yards on the ground rushing, 30 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. Did what he had to do to keep the team on pace offensively. So you have to like his leadership skills, you have to like his awareness, and you also have to like his ability. So look for him to stick on to a roster as a 2nd or 3rd option. You may see some time in the red zone as one of those dual threat type of quarterbacks. Football Game Plan has you covered throughout the entire draft season, so tune in every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Football Game Plan's draft prospect analysis show hosted by our senior draft analyst, Chris James. You can follow him on Twitter at CJFlorida9. Remember, that's every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time at blogtalkradio.com/footballgameplan.